Hey everybody, John Newman, host of Sports Card Nation, Hobby Quick Hits, sometimes on Hobby Hotline, and once a month on Breaking Cardboard. Here's where it does happen, right behind these closed doors. But man, it'd be a lot easier if I can clone myself. But let's see where the magic happens. Hey, what took you so long? We got a show to do. All right, let's start the show. All right, welcome to Ep.6 of Breaking Cardboard. My name's John Newman. Thankfully, there's really only one of me, not two, as that intro showed. Bat a little cold tonight, but playing a little hurt, but we'll be fine. I got six guests on today's show, the biggest version of Breaking Cardboard. We're every second Friday of the month live, a live show. The only, other than Hobby Hotline, the only live show that I do on a regular basis. I want to bring on my co-host. We have a co-host, and a man I always say needs no introduction, Mr. Dr. James Beckett. Welcome, Dr. Jim.
Glad to be here, John. Thanks for doing this.
Oh, thanks for joining me. And we have five young men tonight. Many are known in the hobby, doing great things themselves at a younger age than even I did. And I'm going to bring them on, introduce them sort of one by one. We'll start with Brody the Kid. Welcome,
Well,
Brody, from the Hobby Life. How are you?
good. Excited to be
All
here.
right. Oh, thanks for coming on, Brody. All right, next up, he has his own. Brody does the Hobby Life and Hobby Hotline, along with myself and Dr. Beckett. Next up, we got Jacob Burris. He does the Sports Card Second podcast, and then he's got a sports podcast as well. He's kind of taken a page a little bit out of my book, and that's fine by me. Does a great job. He's been on Dr. Beckett's show, I believe, and Sports Card Nation as well. Welcome, Jacob.
Yeah, I'm super glad to hear. Thank you guys for inviting me on. Super glad to join you guys.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming on. All right. Next up, we got Blake from the Blakedown. Does all the Project 2020, Project 70 reviews. He's got more energy. I don't know where you get your energy from, Blake, but when we go off the air later, I have to ask you what you eat for breakfast because I'm gonna have to put that in my diet
yeah.
there. Welcome.
Thanks for letting me on the show tonight. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for joining us. All right, our next two guests are brothers. We'll go, I believe, we'll try to go in oldest order if I get it right. We have Owen Gotcher and we have Max. I'm going to bring them on at the same time, and that's everybody.
Hello.
Owen and
Hello.
Max, along with their dad Rex, run the sports card shop at Moco in New Buffalo, Michigan. Big supporters of Sports Card Nation, Hobby Hotline, doing big things out there, and running a card store with their dad. I love that perspective. They're on the ground level there, seeing those transactions, and I worked at a card store at 13, so right up my alley. So welcome everybody. I'm going to let my co-host Dr. Beckett ask the first question here. I'll acquiesce to the guest host. Dr. Jim, what do you got on your mind with all these guys in this room?
I want to ask each of the young men what the local card shop of the future is going to look like. What would you want it to look like? What would be appealing to you? Because we need to have more kids, and if they go into some of the current card shops, uh, just wondering, as a young person, do you want to own your own card shop? Do you want to? What would the card shop of the future look like from your perspective?
Yeah.
Well,
So,
all right, you can go, Jacob.
all right. Yeah.
Go
Okay.
ahead, Jacob.
So, like we sort of seen this. I kind of enjoy what these shops have been doing. They've been putting in the card bars and stuff like that. I really like that. setting out the mats and sleeves and stuff for people to break. I really like that. Breaking is the future of the hobby. Unfortunately, I don't love breaking, but it is going to be the future of the hobby the way the boxes are. Um, but I like how the shops are implementing breaking into their shops, uh, and they're just modernizing it. Some shops near me, they're still the '80s shop style, kind of a boring shop, just kind of stuff everywhere, But we got we got Moco down here. I mean, they're doing great things, and and we got my local card shop, Kentucky Roadshow. Jimmy Mahan,
Oh yeah.
love that dude. He's doing great things with his shop as well. So that's kind of what I'm seeing as the future of card shops.
Well, something with Kentucky Roadshow, when Tracy Hackler joined us on Hobby Hotline, I actually asked him on my show this same question, like, what do you see at the card shop in a couple of years when Fanatic starts doing all this stuff? Um, I I really think that the future of card shops is going to depend on, like what Jacob said. Like he said, like there's some card shops where it's like the old 80s style, stuff everywhere, stuff like that. But I'm seeing a lot more card shops around me where they've got TV set up, um, arcade games for the kids in case they're just there with their dad. They're not into cards or they're not old enough yet, and they're playing arcade games. I really like too, like you mentioned, breaking. A lot of times you can see the studios and back, or a lot of times they're breaking while you're there. So you can say hi on there or watch what they're opening. And I think that's really cool thing too. And then like he said with um breaker mats and stuff out and at where Andy Card Exchange. When I was there, they have the Jordan table, and it is so cool. They glued down. I don't remember exactly. It was a lot of Jordan cards. I know that for sure, and including his Fleer rookie, all onto a glass table, and that's where everybody rips their products. I got to open a bunch of packs on there. So I think it's stuff like that. Cool stuff. I love memorabilia in shops, especially jerseys hung up, I think is my number one favorite thing to see in memorabilia. Um, and yeah, the dollar bins I still want around. It's going to get harder though as we go along, I think, but hopefully we can continue with that.
I'm gonna have Max and Owen go last since they're already sort of doing that stuff. Like I said, Blake, what do you want to see from the card stores as we move into the future?
Um, I would say card stores, some of them, some unique ones, sooner or later, probably some might have, like maybe stations where you could open packs with maybe the workers or something like that. Um, there would probably, like, others said, you guys said, um, maybe some more arcade machines, more because more kids might come into the hobby, and they might just want to do something where they kind of, brainstorm on what they want in the store. Because all kids and adults that go into a card store have to think on what they want to buy because there's so much stuff in them.
Yeah, you want to make it sort of interactive, right? Eye appealing, right? You do the reviews on obviously the card art cards, and so like what appeals to you or what catches your eye. I think that can work obviously on a store level too. You want to garner people's attention, young and old. Max and Owen with their dad Rex are already doing that. And matter of fact, it's good timing for this question because you guys are actually expanding the store. I saw your dad post some photos. You're building on. Talk a little bit about the expansion. A little plug for the store, but talk about what's going on at the sports card shop.
There's a lot going on right now. We're adding more space for singles. We're gonna have a lot more entertainment in that back room with some more singles. More tables to break and stuff. We're gonna have more different types of collectibles. It's just gonna be a lot different in and a lot larger of a scale than it was before.
Now, are you building on, or is this an existing space that you're just making the card shop bigger?
It is an existing space that we had. It was kind of back storage and all that. We're kind of shifting it around and making it more of a more card shop back there as well.
Yeah, so you're making the store bigger. It's fun. Now, are you guys doing this yourself, or you're watching your dad or a contractor? How's this going? Are you getting?
We did some of it. We had to move a lot of stuff around. There's a contractor. He's putting lights in, and he's making a little doorway so you get in there easier. And yeah.
So Owen, I don't want Max to steal all the spotlight here. I'm gonna let you. What are the long-term goals with the sports card shop? Obviously, you're expanding. That's part of it, but even for you guys, like Pat, I think Max is in middle school. Owen, you're in high school. Is this something you want to? Are you going to go to? Again, a lot of things can change, but is this something you want to do? Even for your careers, maybe later down the line, even?
I feel like it could be like a side job, kind of. So you
Yeah,
could do like one thing that you really love, and then on the other side, you could have the hobby. Because I feel like it's always going to stay with me, and it's never going to go away. I just feel
yeah,
like I'm too invested in it to let it go.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what's that like working in a card store at a young age? I did that when I was 13. I was already there a lot. That's probably why the owner of the store just said, "Listen, John, you're here so much. I might as well just have you work for me and pay you." I think I just bugged him into a job. But for you, this is a family business. What's that like? Is it what you expected? Is it better than you expected? Is it a little more work than you kind of envisioned at first?
So there's some flaws to it, but mostly it's super fun. Well, there's some things I don't like to do, like taking out the garbage or or like vacuuming or cleaning down the tables. But there's so much fun perks to it. Like sometimes we open up damaged boxes since we don't want to
Yep.
sell those to the customers. And then
Yep.
sometimes we get free cards if we worked well instead
Yep.
of our paychecks. So that's always a big plus.
So
It's just
Max,
super fun.
what's it like working for your dad? Is that tough? Is he like, do that? Does he give you like a list,
Uh,
the do
it's
list?
it's fun. We always go there. We have our little setup routine that we always have. We and then he gives me like a list of tasks to do, and after that we work on like ideas for the shop and stuff like that afterwards. Pretty fun. And then we see if we get any customers, and we make some sales there, and we pack up and go on our way. It's pretty
Yep.
fun.
All right, guys, I'm going to ask the second question here. We all, it's old news almost now, except we got a new wrinkle recently. We all know, Fanatics got the licensing in baseball, basketball, and football. When that news first broke, it was baseball first, and I'm an old guy from Brooklyn, New York, so Tops to me is all I've really known in the baseball space for Dr. Beckett. Same, very similar. I don't want to say all we know. We had Donruss, Fleer, Score, Upper Deck, but Tops really was always been the leader, the front runner, and it was for me. And being sentimental was kind of shocking. I'm sure I don't want to speak for Dr. Jimmy's here, but I'm sure that was a little bit different for him too. That he's known Tops, for almost 70 years, and that's how long they've done it. And so it was a little bit I don't want to say scary, but it kind of little rattled my system a little bit. I'm sure for Dr. Jim it was a little surprising as well. But you guys come from a different perspective, being younger. You don't know Tops in the same maybe vein that myself and Dr. Jim did. What are your thoughts on Fanatics and that deal? And now we know they've acquired tops. And I hear a lot of people sort of wording it almost like they merged, and that's incorrect. Fanatics has acquired and bought tops and owns that intellectual property. What are your thoughts, from your perspective of kind of this change in who's doing the cards, even though Tops is still obviously going to have continue on under Fanatics umbrella.
Well, I think this is going. It's going to be interesting long road. Obviously, this isn't going to be something that starts instantly. Fanatics has already done stuff with the card market. They did have exclusive Prism basketball blasters on their site, Contenders football, and a couple other ones I think too. So they've done stuff with Panini before. I think this is something where we look at it, and I think Josh Luber is going to watch Tops and what they do for the next 2 to 3 years, kind of see what mistakes are there, kind of see what he likes, and then he will go from there. That's what I think, because I don't think he can go right into this and like blindfolded almost. I think he's going to watch and he's going to keep the employees he likes, and get some new ones if he thinks he needs to. But there's so many what ifs to this scenario. There's so many what ifs. What happens to Panini? What happens to Upper Deck? There's so many what ifs on what could happen. But I think it could be really good for the hobby. I mean, Fanatics is like the hugest memorabilia source around in the whole world, really, to be honest. Um, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, when I was on Hobby Hotline last week, after the news broke, we were talking about it, and Texas Card Dude Brad brought up a great point about how when Pixar bought Star Wars, they were not very happy about that, but it turned out to be pretty good because
Yeah,
that expanded it to Marvel, and there's Disney Plus, and all this new stuff came about it, and that we'll see. Something might happen that people might not like at first, but it could turn into something really good.
well, there's millions of collectors, as we all know. So you're not going to make everyone happy. I think that's par for the course. One thing, Brody. Here's the thing, though. They actually really, Fanatics now owns Top. So in a sense, I think that they were looking at 2026 before the acquisition to really get their fingerprint on it. Now, with this acquisition, I don't want to say it's almost immediate. I think the 2022 products guys are going to definitely have those have been in the works and on drawing boards and in being processed. So I think, but as early as 2023, I think we're going to see Fanatics input and what in the direction they want to take the licensing and the production of. So Brody, I think it's going to get a little ramped up a little sooner than maybe you think or you said, where it was 2026 before. And I think that's one of the big reasons for the acquisitions. Fanatics got a new toy. You get a new toy, right? You don't want to wait 3-4 years before you like get to open it up and play with it. But now by buying Tops, they get to unwrap that thing sooner and start get to use it. So it's more to it than that. I'm oversimplifying it, but there is an element of truth to that. Anyone else want to sort of chime in with this changeover?
Yeah.
Uh,
So
Never mind. You can go.
you go ahead, Max. Go
No,
ahead.
it's fine.
All right. Well, so we you made a great point. Fanatics basically waiting till 2026 just means that Fanatics can't put their logo or their name on the card. But right now, I mean, like 2022 products, all the designs are probably almost done. They're probably working on printing like right now. So 2023, like you said, there's definitely going to be Fanatics fingerprint in there. If you listen to my podcast or honestly a lot of the podcasts that appeared on Dr. Beckett, Sports Card Nation with John, we discussed I did not want Fanatics to buy any companies. I wanted them to start from scratch in 2026 with all the licenses and see what they could do with that. I wanted to see a fresh start, new designs. If we're gonna have a long contract with Fanatics, let's make it a legacy with brand new designs. I mean, yeah, Tops is a legacy. It's been around since 1951. It is 70 years this year or last year now, I guess. But it, I understand why they did it because Tops is a legacy. But I wanted them to create their own legacy, and they did not do that. So, come on, Josh, what you doing?
Well, I think Jacob, they're gonna listen as the controlling interest, right? They get the nix or approve anything they really want to do. I mean, they might, the people are coming, the staff's coming over for Tops. A majority of them probably will. There might be some that don't make that transition, but they work for Fanatics, so they can come up with whatever ideas. And there's a lot of smart people that are going to be in that room, Fanatics folks and Tops folks that are now under the Fanatics umbrella. But at the end of the day, right, it's going to be the powers that be in Fanatics that say yay or nay to whatever is being proposed, product wise, design wise, price wise, and all that stuff. So even though I know you, I remember you said that on my show, and listen, everyone's entitled to their opinion, and no one's wrong. It's just an opinion. Um, I think there's various reasons they did it. I think they wanted to get rolling sooner. I think they wanted access to production facilities that would have been more difficult, maybe to procure without doing that, transaction. So, but at the end of the day, well, whether it says Tops or Fanatics Tops or Tops Fanatics, I think it's going to have Fanatics as the owner of the product. It's going to be their product, just with that collaboration, if you will. Max?
I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be interesting to see. We haven't had something like this in a while, a very long time. So it's gonna be pretty cool to see what's gonna happen. I'm excited where it's gonna go. I mean, they're already experienced in the sports world with memorabilia, selling NBA licensed jerseys, all that type of stuff. They've even sold sports cards sometimes. So I think they're going to be pretty experienced. And since they are, like they said, they did buy Tops, so they could be studying them and figuring out how it would work. So I'm pretty excited to see what's going to happen.
Yep, I got to ask Blake. I know you're a fan of the card art. That obviously was Tops's baby. Now Tops being, in a sense, owned by, not in a sense, they are owned by Fanatics. Are you concerned as a fan of that product? Are you worried that it's either going to change or maybe not exist?
I'm not really that much worried. So Tops has been running really good. Right now they're doing really good. The thing I just really hope doesn't happen is Fanatics changing anything like the logo of Tops and stuff, because I like its original style. And
Yep.
if anything does change, I'll try to adjust to it and stuff. And yeah, um,
Well, I think they're going to continue. I mean, that's been even though it's had its bumps in the road and some complaints and issues, I think it overall it's been a success for Tops. I think what would be interesting, Blake, to see what I think Fanatics continues it, but I think you're going to see some changes with it. What those are, I don't know. I'm just playing, armchair Fanatics here, but I think they're gonna change that product a little bit in some way, whether it be price point, how many come out each week, or what have you. One of the ideas I said on my show for down the line, I think there's a lot of those come out each week at that $20 price point. Gets a little bit overwhelming. What I like to see them do, and I know people don't like redemption cards, guys. I mean, I feel you, but even have like some numbered card art cards appear as like redemption cards in products. So you're opening, Topps Chrome basketball, right? And now you get a redemption card for number to 100, Blake Jameson, LeBron James card. I'm just using that as an example. And you got to, obviously submit your redemption, and then they mail you that card art card in the mag type, just kind of what we're accustomed to now. But now it's not something everybody can buy. You've pulled that redemption card, and it has a little bit more exclusivity for the individual who pulled the card, and only 100. So I don't know if they're going to do that. That's just an idea off the top of my brain. Every once in a while, it works, but I think they're going to do something different than what Topps is doing with it, and because they can. And I think there was been some warts with that project, especially after the success of Project 2020. Top 70 has had some issues here and there. So I think Fanatics is going to try to continue it. It might be called something else, but they're going to probably change some of the things. I expect some changes there. Anyone else? We're going to let Dr. Jim ask another question, but anyone else want to chime in on the whole Fanatics topic?
Well,
I had one thing that Max said. He did say that this transition hasn't happened in a long time, but because this hobby is kind of booming right now, people don't really realize that we did have this transition just 10 years ago, back with Panini and Upper Deck. Upper Deck used to and Tops used to hold the basketball and football licenses, and Panini took them. So it's honestly, it's been only 10 years. Just the hobby everyone is so new into the hobby right now. People aren't thinking about that, but it's really just been 10 years since we last had a big transition like this. People didn't like Panini at the start necessarily, but we'll just have to see what happens. I don't know. I mean, no one knows. It's all pure speculation. Nobody knows what they're going to change, what they're going to do. So
yeah, and it's
And
almost 7 years too, because 2015 was last year Topps made football cards, and that was the start of exclusive licensing for just one company. I think one of the most interesting things to see out of Fanatics buying Topps is what happens with companies like Panini and Upper Deck. I feel like Panini will be interesting to see if they try to make unlicensed cards for the three sports, but they also just acquired WWE, so they now own UFC and WWE, um, NASCAR, Fortnite, and I think something else I can't think of off the top of my head. But that Upper Deck's still in a really good spot because Fanatics didn't even try to do anything with them really, at least that we know of, and they own the big guys like we've always talked about. They own LeBron's rights, they own Michael Jordan's rights, Tiger Woods, Ben Simmons. We could go on and on about some guys they have, and I think it'll just be interesting to see how the other companies will handle it, and if will Fanatics kind of rule it, or will Upper Deck still be competing like they did with Topps and Panini regularly, or will Fanatics kind of be the king?
yeah, it's a good segue. I want to just piggyback off that, Brody. Chris Carlin was actually on Breaking Cardboard, this show, last month, I believe, or the month before. And he asked me before we went on, John, I need to make a statement about the Fanatics thing. Can I be allowed to do that? Which is no question. I said, by all means, Chris, you don't even have to ask me that. And so towards the end of that show, rumors were sort of swirling at that time. Was Fanatics going to try to buy Upper Deck? And he came on the show and said he wanted to put that, rumor to bed. Upper Deck's a private company. They are not listed for sale. They are not taking offers. And anything reported to the other end of that is just rumor and innuendo. And now money, as we all know, guys, this is an industry with a lot of money exchanging hands, and so money can sometimes talk. But I believe Chris from knowing him fairly well. I know Dr. Jim knows him. I don't think that was lip service. I think that's the truth. But again, if depending on what kind of offer gets put together, you never say never, but I don't think Upper Deck is on the selling block per se. But again, what have we learned the last 2 years in this hobby, right?
Yeah.
You just don't know what's around, what kind of news stories around the next corner. But I think, and I'm glad Upper Deck got to, speaking for myself here, guys, I'm glad Upper Deck got to keep the NHL license, and we don't have one company necessarily controlling all the four major sports. It'll be interesting to see if Fanatics tries to acquire anyone else, whether that be Panini or even maybe a smaller company, a boutique company. I've mentioned on my show, like a Leaf, Parkside, Onyx, Wildcard. If they like what those companies are doing and want to collect that IP, I'll say this: if they purchase one of those type of companies, it's going to be a lot cheaper than what Tops cost them, and so they'll have to, look at that. And again, for a transaction to happen, right, you got to have two parties agreeing. So it's like at lunch, right? When you got your peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and someone's got a tuna fish sandwich, and they want to trade you, and you don't want their tuna fish, and you keep your peanut. So it's got to be agreed on, and it's got to be a want on both sides. So, but it's going to be interesting. Look at all the news that's broke, and here we are on the 14th of January. We got 11 and a half more months for 2022. Anyone else? I kind of rambled on there. Anyone else want to close out? Blake, you want to say something?
So when you talked about Upper Deck, I was thinking if Fanatics really wants to do something with Tops, they should probably do, hockey upper class, and maybe some Michael Jordan with upper class and hockey upper class.
Well,
That's
they can't. They can do hockey stickers because Tops owns the sticker license to do NHL stickers, but Upper Deck does own that the players and the league license. So
Yeah, and
um,
Michael Jordan said he's never going anywhere besides Upper Deck. That's
Yeah,
yeah,
he's definitely not leaving. Yeah.
no.
yeah. So the only way, it's wishful thinking. I appreciate it, but I think the only way, Tops or Fanatics / Tops is gonna do hockey other than stickers is they're gonna have to acquire for now, acquire either Upper Deck or get the licensing the next time it's up in the air for someone else to get it. So, but
But it seems like the NHL likes Upper Deck. I think that
Yep.
I don't
yeah,
think the NHL is gonna
yeah.
do Upper Deck.
Money just talks.
yeah, yeah. Well, listen, you guys are learning at a young age, but don't let that jade you. Money's important. I'm not gonna, but money's not everything either. So, all right, Dr. Jim, your turn.
One quick thing on Upper Deck,
Yeah.
and I haven't heard anybody say this, but sometimes agreements between companies and individuals, such that Upper Deck has with Michael Jordan, LeBron, Tiger, etc. Sometimes those agreements can be voided if there's a change of control. In other words, if the company gets bought, the player can say the deal is off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's possible. That could be a reason why Upper Deck would be reluctant to sell.
Or a piece of the license.
Yeah, I mean, a company could, and Dr. Beckett, I'm sure will agree with me. A company could sublease a license, if the price is right. I don't think they want to do that ultimately because that's their interest and their property. But again, like Blake said, money talks. It's true. But Upper Deck would probably be more likely to sell the brand than to let's say, Fanatics make hockey cards one year. Let's say they're more likely just to sell. So I don't foresee that. Chris Carlin was on this, like I said, very program and was very adamant and stressed that please, whatever you're hearing, that's not coming from us. It's just people talking without knowledge and nothing. Matter of fact, those rumors have sort of from I remember hearing them after he came out and said that. I haven't heard him much anymore. So You got to have two parties to make a transaction, and they both have to be in agreement for the most part. There's some exceptions to that with when you got publicly traded companies, but Upper Deck's a private company, so that they would have to want to be acquired for that to go down. All right, so Dr. Beckett, we'll let you ask another question.
First of all, again, Fanatics, all the things we're talking about, the one thing we know for sure is that they are interested in direct to consumer. So the Topps art cards, Project 2020, the 70, all those things, when they're going straight to the consumer, Fanatics likes that. In fact, so then the other thing that's scary is that they probably like redemption cards too, because John's idea, because that means you, the consumer, then have to send your address to Fanatics. Now they may already have it. Okay, so here's my question. With all that in mind, what if Fanatics, and it's too late to do it in 2022, but in 2023, what if they developed a subscription box product for kids, but it was specific to your team? Because they can do that. They could have a box that comes to you every month or every quarter that contains your team. Now, they already know, probably they would know where you live. If you're in the Fanatics database, they already know what kind of caps and jerseys you've purchased. They already know probably what your favorite team is. And so how exciting would that be if they were to offer kids a subscription box that was specific to your team?
I really like this idea. I didn't even think about this, but I think this is like one of the smartest ideas I've heard out of this, because not only would you be getting, I'll just say Chicago White Sox cards, but they also do all this memorabilia and stuff. You might have a $60 subscription box, and they could send you memorabilia. They could send you a blaster box and baseballs. I mean, they could do really anything. I mean, depending on what price limit, and there could be one for adults too that's more expensive. And imagine the types of stuff they could do with there with the combination of memorabilia and cards.
Brody, I'm not talking about I'm talking about a White Sox blaster, not a blaster where you get a whole bunch of different cards that you may or may not want. But it's not a team set, because there'd be some parallels and inserts and things like that. But it's just White Sox. It's like a break that's already been done.
Yeah, I see what you're saying with
Yeah,
that. Like,
memorabilia.
yeah. I mean, I agree with Brody there. Like, with the memorabilia, they could do kind of what Panini's doing with the kids' crate. They're throwing in their little knickknacks and stuff. But I mean, obviously, Fanatics, they would make something a bigger part of the box. I do really like the idea. That's one of the best ideas I've heard out of this sort of Fanatic stuff. Uh, with the team blaster, maybe include some prospects, like, so you could have a prospect card, of a player before they get to the majors, or have a chance for some autos or memorabilias. And obviously, so one thing I've thought of a lot with Fanatics is with what they do with their memorabilia, jerseys, autographs. They're some of the biggest sports autographs and memorabilia sellers in the world. Definitely memorabilia autographs as well. So, like, are we going to see more autographs and products? So, like, maybe include that with the kids stuff, maybe a guaranteed jersey card or something like that from your favorite team. And yeah, if they included prospects, I think they'd be able to make the set big enough for that team to make it not a team set in packs, to where it'd be a collectible set for that team.
Another thing too, if Fanatics, like Dr. Beckett says, they seen what you purchased and stuff. If Blake goes on there and buys all the Blake Jameson cards on there. They might be able to include some special Blake Jameson cards. That's another option.
Yeah, there's so many directions they can go, guys, and that idea that Dr. Jim just proposed is great because what do you hear from sometimes collectors, right? Hey, I'm a White Sox guy, I'm a Mets guy. I got one card that I needed out of that whole thing, and it cost me, $80, $150, right? This is really geared to that sort of team collector of that team, and there's a lot of those folks. So it would serve an important niche, and maybe we'll see it. If we see it, I think they got to send Dr. Jim a check there.
It'll be in the mail.
Anything else, guys? To Dr. Jim's question about what we might see and what you want to see.
So my point is, if Fanatics has a crate, a kid's crate, what would that look like for you? Would you be excited about that? I mean, Fanatics.
It might. I was thinking. So John. Maybe a card where you meet your favorite player.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. Have you been listening to Sports Card Nation? Because I mentioned about that. I don't know when, some episodes back, that Fanatics has these relationships with these athletes. I would love to see whether I get one or not is insignificant, but I'd love to see sort of Top sort of does that, guys, with the their
like
party
for a kid.
Yeah, Tops does that with the silver and the gold tickets for their events, and Mike Trout was there one year, Hank Aaron, but maybe a little bit more of that, even not so much in maybe a hotel or a ballroom, but maybe at a game where they fly you in to Anaheim, and you get to hang out with Mike Trout for 30-45 minutes before the game and get a couple things from him, that sort of thing.
That's like the Panini Kid Reporter contest that Panini does every year. They pick one kid and they send him down to the Super Bowl and they ask some of the players some questions. And I know of that because I just finished entering like 4 stacks of them because you had to do it by today. So I had to get that done.
Well, you're already a kid reporter. What are you trying to enter that thing for?
The Super Bowl. I want to go to LA. I want to watch the Raiders and the Rams.
The Raiders.
You got
I'm pretty sure
you got a
wrong,
better
man.
chance.
It's the Bengals. The Bengals. The Bengals. Joe Burrow.
That's right. That's Jacob's team. I think you got a better chance of seeing the Rams, but what the heck do?
Yeah, I think there's a better chance of seeing the Rams, but the Raiders aren't going out without a fight.
Yeah.
Without getting smacked by the Bengals.
Yeah, the Bengals.
They can handle Burrow.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're turning into a football show, and I do one of those already on Sunday nights with David Lee, who's works for Beckett. But Max and Owen, you're on the store level with your dad. What any ideas to maybe some different stuff or kids related, new products under the Fanatics, brand?
I think it's gonna be cool. Like I said, there's not much to it. I guess we've only been able to get some memorabilia and stuff from them. They've done card sales a couple times, stuff like that. But don't really know yet.
I think getting a little direct to consumer. I think that's going to be sort of their blueprint. Not good if you're a distributor in the space. We'll have to see. Again, we got a little time probably before that really becomes a concern. I'm sure it's a concern now, but it's going to be good and bad of that. Any concern, guys, that are you worried that there's going to be too much made? I know that's typically not something a younger kid necessarily worries about, but you guys are content creators or in the storefront. Are you worried that we might see overproduction?
I think
well, I definitely don't want the Junk Wax era to happen again.
Maybe.
because
I think it
some of my favorite players were in that era, and some of their cards don't cost that much. So I would hope
Well,
that that junk wax era doesn't come back.
yeah. Well, there's pluses and minuses to that. Like you said, sometimes it makes that those cards a little bit more affordable. But
Yeah.
I think generally people sort of frown upon overproduction. It's hard to tell a lot of times. A lot of times we speculate on overproduction. We don't really know. We just kind of feel something, or it's a hunch or a gut feeling. Unless unless a product has a print run, but usually if a product has a print run, right? What is it? It's usually more limited. So we'll
Okay,
have to see.
let me say one thing. You get a copy, you get a copy, you get a copy.
Yeah, what about what Blake? You bring up a good point there. Like, why might we see sort of a limit? Let's say they do go to a direct to consumer model. So I log in on my computer, and I can get two boxes. Dr. Jim logs on, he can get two boxes. Brody logs on, and he can get his two boxes. I would like that. I'm not. I don't have a problem with limits. We see what happens with stuff on the shelf at Walmart and Target, and people wrestling each other or taking the whole display out, and it gets kind of physical and anger. Anger. People get angry if they go to direct to consumer with sort of a limit. That way, one person can't put in their cart, 1,000 boxes of Topps flagship, let's say, or Topps Fanatics flagship, I should say. Um, I'd be for that. At least it's fair. If you have a friend that don't want their two boxes, that's a way to get maybe a couple more boxes, but it probably should be limited. But again, that's easier said than done. People can just sign up with different emails. It'd have to be more of a IP sort of track. And I'm not a computer whiz, so I don't want to talk like I'm one. But
It
if
does
they
make
could
it
do,
interesting for breakers, though, direct to
yeah.
consumer like that. Like, how will the distributors be involved with direct to consumer? I, that's another interesting thing to look at.
Well, maybe Fanatics starts sort of a breaking end of things where they have a sign up where they, almost they become the distributor, and they have breakers apply to get product. And in a sense, they're sort of an in-house distributorship of their own products, and maybe breakers, like you said, Brody, maybe breakers where I can get up two boxes and you can get two boxes. Maybe a breaker can get that case rather than us. If they're vetted, they're approved, they're on the up and up. Maybe they have to, put a deposit or, whatever way they choose to go. So I'm not opposed to that. I mean, I think we all, just in hearing you guys and what I'm saying and Dr. Jim, I think we just want to sort of have some fairness, whatever the protocols are and whatever direction they go, just sort of have maybe a little bit more transparency, a little more fairness with how people get the product. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if fairness is important and a good thing, and it builds trust, right? It builds trust. They're a new brand in the card space. Even though they dabbled in it a little bit prior, they're going big into it now. And so if they can build that trust early, that'll go a long way for that contract for as long as they have it.
I mean, so one thing to add real quick, you mentioned overproduction and should we sort of have caution with that? Well, we should be having caution with it right now because we're overproducing. Prism, guys, Prism silvers, like there's so many. They're the pop report on the Zion Prism Silver. I mean, there's just so many of it. I mean, in Prism is considered like not a base level product. I mean, the the refractor should not have 10,000 on a PSA 10. I mean, that's just insane. And then 2021 tops like is the most junk wax set I've seen since 1992 tops. I mean, it's pretty overproduced. So I mean, Fanatics hopefully will make. I mean, I don't want them to make things too limited. I mean, Tops should be an overproduced product, but not as much as it is right now.
No, great points, Jacob. I don't think anyone likes overproduction, but and I know Dr. Jim will probably agree with me. They also have to be, they have to make enough product where they can be profitable too. It's sort of a balance. It can be a fine line. They don't want to make not enough, and it becomes a loss. So they've got all those equations they got to work. It's not just printing cards out. Obviously, you guys know it's paying the players to sign the cards they do, the jerseys, the production, all that stuff starts to add up. So they got to try to find that balance where they can be profitable as a company and not sort of flood the market, as Jacob kind of used Prism for an example. We're at the 51-minute mark. I got another question I want to ask to everybody in this room as young men and kids. When you go to a show or you go to an LCS, do you feel you as a younger hobbyist, do you feel like you're treated fairly, or yes or no, and why or why not, and what would you like to see maybe different to be better if you feel like that's not the case?
I
I feel
100% do feel like I am at card shows or my local card shops, especially my local card shops, because I've gone to them for so long and a lot of them know what I do. But at card shows, they definitely do because I mean I'm like pretty tall. I'm probably the tallest person in this room besides maybe Dr. Beckett, but um I think a lot of times, like if I have like a lot of times the shows, I'll have my branding on, or I might have my Brody the Kid backpack with me, and I think sometimes people kind of realize that I do stuff in the hobby, but I do feel like that they respect it because I mean there's some kids I know on Instagram that aren't even on this panel that ha- just are crazy into cards like all of us, but there's some kids that have some crazy cards for being 13, 12, 11.
Does anyone feel, do any of you guys, and be honest, that's how we get change, right? By being honest and talking about it. Does anybody ever felt, whether it be at a card show, at a card store, even online, has anyone felt maybe overlooked, or because I'm young, I'm not my attention, or I'm not being treated the same way maybe if I was, 21 or 30? Does anyone ever felt that way?
Um,
You go ahead, Blake.
thanks. I just want to say, I got two things from the last things so far you've asked. Um, I think they should, at local card shops, maybe sooner or later they'll maybe add kids only section or something. So kids can pick out their own cards that they might like for more
Yeah,
kids.
but then I'm out, Blake.
What I Well, you got your own adult
then
section.
my feelings get hurt. I
And then the second thing is on the line. Sometimes adults don't really treat you that much fair on Instagram and stuff. So
Yeah, I can see that. Social media can be a harsh place. I think we all know that. Even adults to adults. Let's be honest, right? And so, John Keating, who does his own show, so a little tongue in cheek. Adults ruin everything.
everything.
Well,
But
I just had an occurrence of this the other day on Instagram too. There's some podcast, I don't even remember what it was called, but they did Young Hobby Influencer of the Year Award something, and they picked the winner or what, I don't remember who it was, but then this guy goes off and says, "This is ridiculous. Brody the kid does all this stuff, blah 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 blah." Like tags me in it, all this stuff. And like the show responded, and they went like back and forth like 4 times because the guy was like so mad that I didn't get picked. And I like didn't even know what to respond. I was like, "Thank you very
Well,
much for trying to get me to win," but
yeah, but that's how
really
you respond, Brody. You let others take up your sword for you. And I think that's the biggest compliment you can get is when someone else says, "Hey, you left this guy out," or
yeah.
you overlooked this
Have a
person.
good
That
night.
that happens, and when we talk about players, when we
Mhm.
rank players, like
Yeah.
you weren't fair to this guy, or he should be in the Hall of Fame, and he shouldn't. Comment from Daniel Busby here, which I think is relevant. He says, "I'm an adult and I get treated different than someone that has a lot of money. I can't imagine being a kid. Not all dealers, but there's a lot." And I will tell you this, guys, as someone who sets up at shows still as a dealer myself, and the shows I do, I don't know the other dealers very well. I don't want to say they're my buddies, but I have even saw myself. They sort of treat the kids at their table a little bit differently, not expecting them like Daniel was kind of alluding to. Man, this doesn't have as much money as an adult. Maybe not, banter with him, how you doing, have that sort of small talk and sort of overlook them. Something I've done, guys. I did my first show at 15 years old. Something I do. I didn't do it when I was 15, but as I got older, became an older dealer, knowing I got my start as a young kid myself. Is then I always have some packs behind the table, and if I see kids come up to the table, whether they're with mom or dad, I always like to hand out free packs, and mom and dad are like, "You're giving that to them for free?" Yep. No strings attached, It makes the kids' day. And it just, to me, it's my way of saying, "Hey, you're just as important as anyone else in this hotel, wherever the show is. And glad you're here. Glad you're part of the hobby." And I think it doesn't cost me much to do that, truth be told. And it just goes a long way. Does anyone else feel like they the hobby could be a little bit better towards kids?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at shows, I'm not exactly the tallest guy in the world, so at shows, I have had a couple dealers that are just like, I'll just kind of be sitting there, like, got my cards, and he'll talk to the. I'll be like, "Can you do this deal? We'll kind of start on it." Somebody will come up, look at his Herbert rookies and whatever, and he'll go make a deal with them. Obviously, yes, that card is worth way more than the $10 to $50 card that I have picked out. But I mean, just let me do my deal and I'll be gone. You can do your deal with that guy. I mean, I have definitely had that before. Uh, Not necessarily in card shops. They're usually pretty good with kids, especially. God, I keep plugging them. Jimmy Mahan and Kentucky Roadshow. Gosh, that shop is so nice.
Yeah, and Jimmy is one of the I say he's one of the nicest guys in the hobby. He just cares about everybody. It doesn't matter whether you're 1 years old or 100 years old. Just a happy guy, infectious, and he's a great asset for the hobby. And you're lucky he's in your backyard, and so you get to go to that shop on a regular basis. I got to get there. He's been on Sports Car Nation twice, and I've gotten to know him very well. Everyone, I heard somebody say once about him, well, that's how he is when like you're recording or the camera's rolling. I've talked to him plenty of times without recording or cameras, and that's who he really is. And that says a lot about a person. There's no acting there. That's Jimmy's personality, and just a great guy who, if you know his history, he worked with troubled youth at camp. And so kids are very important to him, even outside the hobby. So he's taken that, concern for kids outside the hobby, and definitely brought it into his hobby space. And I try to be like that. Great comment from John Keating here. He says, lads, don't be afraid to carve your own path through the jungle. And here to that, guys. You're all doing different things, whether it be content creation, running at a store. Keep doing what you're doing. Be yourself. Make some noise. If someone doesn't like it or they don't view you on that plane, that's their problem, not yours, right? And so I agree with John. John asked one more question. He says, which one of the Gotcher brothers has the better collection? I don't know if we want to end the show with a fight, but Max or Owen, who's got better cards?
I'll show you guys my favorite card right now. PC, Dwayne Wade, Carson Edwards, all that. And I got this one. And this one's really cool to me.
Yep.
It's a Dwayne Wade autograph from Prism.
Auto, yep.
I
Auto
thought it was
Prism.
pretty cool.
And that's the thing. That's a great point too. I mean, that's got some value, but also, guys, don't having an expensive card is a great thing, but collect what you like. Don't worry so much about what it's worth all the time. Obviously, when we open stuff, we want to pull, something really nice. But even if you like a card and it's a couple bucks, there's nothing wrong with that. Don't that's something I see too. Is people put too much sometimes emphasis. Oh, that's not worth that much. But
I
don't
gotta
worry.
say something. So I just want to ask you guys something and Brody something. Okay.
All right, hurry up because we're
Brody,
past the hour.
my
We're gonna
brother
get Dr. Jim in
I
trouble.
just want to know this.
Go ahead.
So, how tall are you, Brody? My brother's 6 feet tall. We were talking about earlier, how like some tallness.
I'm about 5'11".
Pretty close. And last but not least, I just want to say, I'm making my own cards. If you guys haven't heard, for Project 70, they're all charity. So are you guys gonna buy some? I'm just asking.
Well, take a look.
He is right. Money does talk.
He's
Literally.
he's like a carnival barker. No, but listen, for charity, I would definitely look. In worst case scenario, we'll get something. What's the charity? Do you know?
I'm releasing one very soon for 9/11. It's gonna go to the money. The money's gonna go to children that lost their parents as first responders in 9/11. And right now, I'll tell you a little secret. I'm making another charity one. It's for like about actually like 1,000 families that lost their homes in Colorado from wildfires.
Yeah. Well, I love that, Blake.
Fun
And
than
listen, as a New York City kid, 9/11 hits very close to me. I don't know what you're doing. I know Card Killer. I don't know if he's still in the room. Card Killer was in the room. He said hello to everybody. There's a lot of card artists. I know you probably know some of them, Blake, already from what you do. Maybe
I'm a
even
card killer.
reach out to some of those guys. Those guys love philanthropy, love giving back. Maybe do some coordinated effort with them. They have a lot of following. Not that you don't, but just the more eyes on whatever the product is to get to the money for those charities. Don't be shy to reach out to a Blake Jameson, a Card Killer, whoever. I'm just using them as an examples, and say, hey, this is my idea. I want to do some myself. Can't make you'll be surprised the answers you'll get, and people love to help out. And even if even if they just advertise it for you, whatever, just you don't get a no till you ask the question, right? So don't be shy. I know you're not, and see if you can get some others in this niche, the card art, involved. I mean, card killers from Brooklyn like me. So that 9/11 one will be right up his alley as well. So
It's
I
right up
urge you
my
to.
alley too because I'm a history buff. So
Yeah. So I applaud you for thinking about other people, especially at a young age. Some adults
Thank
could
you.
probably take a page out of that book as well.
Yeah.
One last.
Hey,
Go.
yeah, Blake, it's kind of happened with me. Like, don't be shy. Just send an email or a DM. Like, with John Newman, Dr. Beckett, Brody the Kid. Just because I ended up emailing John Newman, I got invited onto the main stage at the National to do a podcast. And because I emailed John Newman, Brody the Kid, Dr. Beckett, I'm here today. So just send an email. You'll be surprised. Did I expect a return email from any of those guys to a little known? I was before these guys. I will say I was averaging 15 listeners a show, and I'm not going to say what I am now. It's a lot more than 15 listeners a
Yep.
show. So just
And
send
that's
an email, a DM, whatever.
Yeah, communicate, guys. Don't let your age deter you from what you want to do or how big you want to grow or in what direction you want to go. And again, talk to others. You'd be surprised how many people will help you. I try never to say no as long as I don't have to. And I know Jacob just thanked me and Brody, and I'll just speak for myself. That's great. I appreciate it, but I'm always good at answering emails and trying to help many people. And here, one of the reasons we're doing this show tonight is because how I feel about kids in the hobby. I know Dr. Jim feels the same way. So, Dr. Jim's a busy guy. You don't have to do this tonight with us, and here he is. And so I know he cares and tries to be as helpful as his schedule allows as well. But you don't get, always ask. The worst you can get is a no, and probably a polite one. If you get a no, it's going to most likely be someone saying, hey, I'd love to do it. Just on that date, I have something, and so reach out, get others involved. It's the hobby community. I don't have to tell you guys this. You know this already. Is a great one. For every bad person, there's 1,000 great people doing great things that would love to collaborate and help. So, guys, we went. We're an hour and 7 minutes.
Okay.
Go
One
ahead. If someone has any last
two quick things. Jacob, we could probably team up someday, okay? And Brody, we can also team up. All of us, and we could all probably have a party at the National.
Well,
I just have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just have one quick question. I'm having internet problems, so if I missed any questions, let me know if I haven't answered them.
Yeah, we might do this again. Maybe not next month,
Yeah.
but we'll make this sort of maybe every few months. We'll do a kids kind of panel. I think it's very important. And speaking of that, and I don't want to make the show any longer. That's something I want. I think Dr. Jim spoke of it too on his show. I don't want to steal his thunder, but he mentioned maybe a kids panel that fanatics can talk to and say, hey, what do you want to see? As the future of the hobby. I think that's important. And you don't have to wait till fanatics ask you. You've got your own voices and platforms and social media to make your voices heard, guys. So don't always wait for someone to ask you. Make your opinions and how you feel known. You never know who's listening, whether it's Josh Luber or someone else, Michael Rubin or someone else in the industry that has some power and say to make things happen. They may hear you or read your social media posts and say, you know what, he's right. I love it. And the next thing you know, it's coming to fruition.
You miss all the shots you don't take.
Yeah.
I got the last question. In-N-Out or Chick-fil-A? My iconic.
We don't have In-N-Out, so it's Chick-fil-A here.
Same.
Yeah.
I feel like every United States, all the United States, whatever you call them, should have an In-N-Out. I think all of them should.
All I know is we need your phone number, Blake, because Dr. Jim's wife's going to be mad and she's going to want to talk to you about it.
Thanks,
I'm
guys.
kidding.
Thanks for being on.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Jim. All right, kids, and I say kids
Fine.
because I'm an old guy, but
Bye.
thanks, guys. We'll do it
That's
again, I
so good.
promise.
Bye.
Someone said in and out. Yay.
All right, guys.
Hobby is the people.
Peace.
Hobbies the people.
Sure.
Thank everybody.
Yay.